Welcome to the Rise Above Show, presented by RoofCON. My name is Dante, and I'm thrilled to bring you inspiring conversations with some of the most innovative and bright minds in our industry. From business and entrepreneurship to personal development and growth, we'll explore the strategies, insights, and stories that have helped our guests rise above challenges, overcome adversity, and achieve their goals. So sit back, relax, and join us on this journey of empowerment, inspiration, and discovery. This is the Rise Above Show. Welcome to the Rise Above Show presented by RoofCON, and I am here at the International Roofing Expo with Ben of JobNimbus. How you doing, man?
Hey, excellent. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. We just met for the first time here a little bit today, but we've been, connected on Facebook, and obviously you guys have been big sponsors of RoofCON and just partner of roofing.com, and just we've been very involved, and just for some reason or another just hadn't gotten a chance to connect in person. So yeah. I'm excited to get to connect with you.
We really believe in what you guys are doing. Super excited to be aligned with you.
Cool, man. So let's get started and let's chat. I guess first and foremost, so that people can get to know you and who you are, what you do, what JobNimbus is. So give us a little intro on Ben and give us a little intro on how JobNimbus came to be and kind of how you got to the point that you're at today.
Okay. I think the thing that might be most surprising for people about me is how many interests I have. So I'm first and foremostly probably a longtime entrepreneur. JobNimbus is the 10th company that I've started in my career, and I feel like this is the one that we're doing the best culture. This is the best product team I've ever had, best product I've ever had, best team I've ever had in general. So that's really cool. But I've had all kinds of companies, some that were really successful, some that weren't, and learned a lot from that.
So what was the most interesting one, or I guess one that we wouldn't expect maybe?
Well, I think that one that might shed a little bit of light on who I am and what I'm like is I had a company called SoundCrank, and this was a Spotify like 5 years before Spotify. I played in a band for a long time, toured, recorded, and I had a lot of record label contacts. And so people want to have music streaming. This was like when everybody just had it on their iPod. You remember the old ones with the click wheels? Yeah. And so we built that company, and then our investors that we had, they actually got caught for doing fraud and both went to jail. And then the money was gone, and it was like a wild ride trying to make that company work with zero money. So didn't quite work out. We probably were a few years early, to be honest. And then Spotify came out and did it awesomely, And now everybody has a streaming service. That's one example.
Yeah. So then from there, now take us to the beginning of JobNimbus.
Yeah. So one of my companies got bought for over $1 billion. So I've had some really big wins, and then I've had other smaller ones. One of my companies got bought by eBay. And so I've seen all this stuff. Every company I've done has been a software company. And in 2012, I met up with some roofers, actually, down in Colorado, and they were doing insurance-related, like storm chasing type stuff. And I was going, oh my gosh, this is really interesting. I had no idea that this was happening or how it was working. And so I went and met with them, and they're showing me the software in the industry in 2012. Nothing worked on a mobile app. Nothing was cloud-based. It was really hard to use. You had to install software in your office, and then you could only use it when you were at your office. And we said, wow, we could really make an impact here. And so we built the first version of JobNimbus. Myself, my partner Nick, coded it with me and launched that for free to a certain small group of roofers and just said, use this and tell us what you think. And we spent a year getting feedback and really learning the industry, because I didn't know roofing at the time. Now I know it really well, but we were software guys coming in to solve a problem. What happened during that time is that people said, I would pay for this. This is awesome. It's so good. It's so much easier to use. It's cloud-based. I can use it on my phone wherever I am. And so we ended up launching JobNimbus officially in 2013. Now, what's cool about that is that That was exactly 10 years ago to this month. In fact, in 2 weeks is our 10-year anniversary.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So now, 10 years has gone by. I'm sure in that, to your point, you didn't know anything about roofing then. You've learned about roofing in the last 10 years.
Yeah, we know well now.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit now of, what you've been able to, specifically, obviously you've got this point of view coming in from JobNimbus. I grew up, you probably don't know this, so I grew up, my dad was in construction.
Cool.
I, right after high school, I went into my dad's business and realized very quickly that that was not for me. And
why wasn't it for you?
Because I don't know, man. It was I was the guy that was I was actually in carrying the plywood from the truck to the job site, and it was just miserable, right? I was an 18-year-old, fresh out of high school, and that's
so the manual labor aspects weren't
the manual aspect labor. I was just man, I'm just not cut out for this.
Yeah.
And so I've grown up around construction, and I know a lot of people. I also ran a roofing company that was. I came in to run this roofing company that had been around for 40 years. They literally came in day one, no CRM, no technology whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah, besides email and stuff like that.
Come on,
right?
That's table stakes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we went from that to starting to implement technology and all this stuff. And so let's talk to, I think we see all these people here at this trade show.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these people are very much connected to or they're trying to become connected here to the stuff that's happening in the industry. But
a lot of guys that are here are trying to figure out how to take their business to the next level.
Exactly. And so for these people, it's how many of these people maybe don't have a CRM, or maybe the people watching or whatever. So
yeah.
And maybe we're not even talking about CRM specifically, but just implementing technology in general, right? What are going to be some of the pain points? Because you're going to run into pain points implementing technology. What are some of those pain points that you're going to run into first and foremost?
So I guess the first thing, I think a lot about this, because if you think about businesses in general, and any business that either had a slowdown or went out of business and was gone, at some point, somebody didn't change their mind when they were supposed to save the business. So if you think about businesses, they all have what's called a life cycle. And if anybody's taken any business classes, they'll know every business has this curve of success and then failure. And what great businesses do, the ones that last for 50, 100, 200 years, is they keep reinventing themselves to keep the curve going, because there's always a curve. They just push the curve out to the next curve and the next curve and the next curve. So if you're not changing, you're actively dying in business. That's just the way it works. And here's the other hard thing. There's a famous book called The Innovator's Dilemma. You ever heard of that book?
No, I haven't.
It's a required reading in a lot of technology schools and business schools. And the theory of the whole thing of the book is to say that whatever's working in your business right now that's making you all the money, that's crushing it, is the thing that's going to put you out of business long term. You just have to figure out when it's time to pivot away from it. But nobody wants to, because the thing that's working, you never want to abandon. And so you keep doing what you're doing, and you don't change your mind, and then you get into trouble. And so I've really taken this to heart and think about this in terms of roofers trying to implement software or whatever, and you'll hear a lot of things of, well, we got a way that we like to do it, and it's this way, or that, or, well, we've been doing it this way for 5 years and it's totally crushing it. So why? That's where I go back to the innovator's dilemma. And that problem there is that, and I think about this in our own business, what are we doing right now that we're going to have to change in the future, and how do we skate towards the puck next? So I guess I'd ask you, in your company, when you came into that and they had no software, what was the biggest pushback you heard when because I'm sure you're a technology guy. You figured out how to set all this stuff up today for this podcast out here on the floor, right? You know technology. What was the pushback for you?
I think it was more like, hey, we've been doing it this long,
Yes.
and paper works.
Yes, and paper works. Now, what did they mean by works?
We've been able to do business thus far.
Okay.
That's what they...
But it wouldn't be efficient. You wouldn't have visibility on reporting. You couldn't optimize things very easily. There'd be a lot of manual work to figure out if anything was going wrong in the business. You wouldn't see any signs of things that are coming fast that you need to get ahead of. Like, those are all the drawbacks. So when somebody says, this works, I go, wait a minute. Yes, you might be surviving, but are you thriving, right?
Oh, that's really good. So let's talk then over, obviously, there's the pain points, right? So what are some of the rewards? What are, give us the benefits of, once you start implementing it. And maybe actually, let me rephrase this a little bit. Let's actually, before we get into that, let's talk about what are the first step technology that you want to start implementing into your business. If you don't have any technology whatsoever, what are the first types of technology, right? Because there's a lot of stuff there. Obviously, there's CRMs, but there's also, you have. I mean, I've walked around in here, and it's like we've got the hail mappings and the company cams and the this and that and all these other things, right? So, what are the first things we want to implement first and foremost if we have nothing?
A lot of customers will come to us, and they already have like 6 or 7 pieces of software they're using, and it's kind of crazy, actually. It's like, well, we use this for this, and we use this for this. It's like a litany of great companies in this area. But they're all little, like, solutions that solve a small portion or a part. And what I always feel like is missing is what's gluing everything together. In my companies, now this is my 10th company, 10. JobNimbus is my 10th. Every single company, the first thing I set up was some kind of customer tracking and project management system, because every business is just 2 things. It's your people and your process. That's all you have. That's all the business is. And so if you don't have a tool to manage your process, I mean, you got to hire the right people, but you got to have a tool to manage the process. So in this space, they would call that a CRM. Now, nobody in any other space would ever call it a CRM, because they would call it like an ERP system, which is like enterprise resource planning. But that's not a word that's known in this industry. But really what you're looking for is something to track all your customers, all your notes, everywhere you're at, and then track your job progress through the entire project, start to finish.
RoofCON's amazing. Getting to see all the speakers like Nick and Eric and especially Tim Tebow. Very exciting and eye-opening.
Amazing speakers and great knowledge. Keep it up.
First RoofCON, been following Hunter and the Revolt Clan for quite some time, and it's definitely been a lot more than what we expected.
This event is getting better and better.
So if you're going to go to one roofing conference, make sure that it's RoofCON.
RoofCON 2023 returns to Orlando, Florida, November 9th through the 11th. Get your tickets at roofcon.com.
So we had some technical difficulties. We roll with the punches. That's what we do here at the Rise Above show. And so my question, going back to the question I had just asked of, now you start to, you've made all these changes, you start implementing some of the first initial tech. What are some of the benefits that you're going to see after you start implementing some of those?
So I think of a business as just 2 things. It's people and process. And if you think about it that way, you say, okay, I've got to solve my people problem with hiring the right people, and then I've got to somehow manage my process. And everything about your business is how do you get money as fast as you can from the customer's hand into your hands. So fulfilling the service. Unfortunately, in roofing, it's not as easy as just handing them an item and they give you the money. You've got to go through process, and process can get bogged down, especially if you're doing insurance work. You can be 3-6 months out from actually getting the cash. And so you need something that tracks your entire process. A lot of people will go and poke and fill holes in the business instead. They'll say, gosh, you know what is a big problem right now is we need to take photos. And so they'll go and get Company Cam, which is an awesome company. You love them. And it's one of the best photo taking solutions in the industry. And they'll solve that little problem, but then they still have the overall process problem and the overall cash problem. They're not solving that with that. They're just fixing a little process. You got to look holistically at the business and say, my most important thing is to get money fast into our bank account. And that would be where you'd want to look for something like a CRM or ERP system which is like what JobNimbus is. Because I think that's the best thing to start with, because it's your framework, it's your structure, it's your foundation for the whole building to be built on. Then the company can integrate into it.
I think something important, too, that people don't realize is that people see the problems that they're having in their business, and then they think, I have to go get the technology to fix the problems that I'm having in my business, when really, like, if you don't have your processes in place, the CRM's not going to fix that.
That's a very insightful comment. So if you think about it, there's actually a famous book called Nail It, Then Scale It that I love. And that's actually something, if you ask most of our employees, I say it a lot. Because they're like, hey, we need to buy this software to automate this thing. I'm like, hold on, how are we doing it right now? Well, I don't know. Is it documented anywhere? No, we're not buying anything. Nail it first. Do it manually first. Have it all documented. Figure out what, and then go and start scaling. Figure out. A lot of people do it the exact opposite. They think, how can I speed things up before they actually know what they're trying to accomplish or even do? And so then you end up buying a lot of software that you use for a little bit, and then you dump it, and you're just constantly all over the place. And then people in the company start hating software because there's like, well, it's some new program. I'm not going to do this because I know it'll be gone in 3 months or whatever. You're actually causing a lot more problems by not nailing it first.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, so let me ask you this now. You know, obviously with the Rise Above show, we focus on, I want the Rise Above show to be extremely beneficial to the people that are watching it, right? So that's why we go into some of these things that are, I don't want to just eat people's time, right? So we go into the professional development, where we go in through, talking about whatever is the thing that you're the pro at. And then we also want to touch up on leadership development, because the one thing that's super big is, like, I'm getting these people that are leading big companies and leading teams, and it's like it would not be fair if I didn't ask you some leadership questions as well.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So how big is your team now?
We have about 200 employees.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what are some of the big leadership lessons that you have learned with, now leading JobNimbus?
Just being really candid and open and honest here, I would say one of the biggest challenges I've had, having been the co-founder of the company and been there at day one, and having just me and my partners, really, that was it, and you had to do everything in the company. It is very hard, and I see this over and over in this industry, it's very hard to transition to a leader as opposed to a doer. And this has been a transition I've learned to do, because although this is my 10th company, my biggest team I'd had before this was 65 employees. And I don't think I transitioned there. I was just still in the weeds on everything. I was in a lot of meetings and babysitting stuff until that company got bought. But this one, because we're going at such higher scale, I've had to figure out how to transition out. Now, I can talk about how that happens, but that's the number one thing that I see, was the ability to get out of the weeds and just work on the business and not just be in the business doing things all the time. Because arguably, I'm the best at almost every role in the company because I freaking made the company. Of course I would be. Like, if you're not good at every role as a founder, then something's wrong with you, Now, that doesn't mean I'm the best marketer or anything, but I'm pretty dang good at marketing because I know the industry really well and I know what I'm doing, and I had to do it myself for a while. So that's where you have the problem. The owner, typically when I talk to a roofing owner, they're the best at estimating. They're the best at production. They're best at scheduling. They're the best at ordering materials. They're the best at negotiating with their distributor. Everything they're the best at. And so they end up doing everything, and the company can really never go to the next level.
I think it might have been John Maxwell that said, if someone can do something 80% as good as you, let them do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I've been trying to learn the last couple of years of, like, I try to be I have this thing where I try to just be a problem solver, and I'll just throw myself into every situation of just, this needs to happen, so I'm going to do this. This needs to happen, so I'm going to do this. And then it's trying to learn to phase myself out of that and let my team handle things. Even here at IRE, we were here in the second we got set up and the doors open, the people came in, I was like trying to talk to everyone, all this stuff. And then Hunter basically was like, you've got your team right here. Like, why don't you let them do it? So that's very very wise words right there of, so I'm still trying to to learn on that. But
part of it is that when you think about your people, talking about your team, they were hired to do a job. And one of the things that great people love is to take on more responsibility and to be trusted. And whenever you're in the weeds or doing their job for them or telling them all the answers, it's not as fun for them, and they will be more loyal and work harder for you the more responsibility you give to them. Now, if you have the wrong employee, actually, they won't be that way. So that's a good way to filter. But if you have the right guys, that's what they do. So learning how to ask more questions in meetings instead of make more statements. Because you, as the leader, everybody looks to you, thinks that you know something, when really you're just some guy leading the thing. So, getting good at asking hard questions that make people think is a very valuable skill to develop. Then nobody knows what you think. They're just having to think through the problem. You're teaching people how to problem solve without you. I think about somebody like Steve Jobs, who, ran Apple very successfully once he came back. And people look up to him as this great visionary. He's really good at marketing and that sort of thing, and good product development. But why did that company actually become 10 times more valuable after he died? And I think it's because when Steve knew he was dying, the last year of his life, all he did is set up processes and people in the right places. And now Apple's still run the same way that Steve ran it. They still have the same types of meeting schedules, everything. He created all these cultural things that lived on past him. So if you put yourself in that mindset, you're like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, could my team operate? And if the answer is no, then you're not a good leader. And but leaders immediately think, well, no, I need to be needed. And so they get in the middle of everything. The best leaders are the ones that can set up a team, they can go on vacation for 2 weeks, and that team operates as well, if not better. That's when you know you're really doing good at leadership.
I had one of the first podcasts I ever filmed, 2021, was with Dylan Mullins, who's in our Revolt program. And he said one of my favorite things ever, where he said, I love going out of town and leaving my team because that's when I know what's the next thing I got to work on.
Yeah.
And it was super insightful of you really know how good you are of a leader if you can step out and your team's still running, right? And so that's super good, man. So, all right, let me finish up and let's chat about RoofCON real quick.
Okay, cool.
So you guys are going to be at RoofCON this year.
Can't wait.
Excited.
It's one of our favorite shows of the year. It's super successful for us.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You guys have you guys are coming in and coming in as a big sponsor. You guys do that every year, and we're just super thankful for you guys. We think you guys are doing really good stuff in the industry, and I'm just super excited to have you guys and for the partnership that we have. And I guess let me just, what my question would be, what is one thing that you took away from RoofCON this last year?
I think one of the surprising things for me was how many companies are looking for some kind of mentorship, like the owners. And RoofCON has really been filling that. You don't get that here. You don't get the hands-on, who's somebody that's done this that I can trust? That's Hunter all the way, right? And can teach me how to do the same thing or better, And is totally bought into my success. That's one of the things I think that you guys bring that is really special to the industry that you won't find at Win the Storm. You won't find at Western States. You won't find at IRE. They all have their own thing going, but that's, I think, what makes RoofCON really unique.
I appreciate that. Well, for anyone that's watched all the way through, we really appreciate it. Let me finish up with this. If someone wants to find out more about you guys, where do they go?
Yeah, JobNimbus.com, of course. You can sign up for a free trial there. Talk to one of our salespeople. We'll walk you through the product. We'd love to show you how we can help you really change your life.
Cool. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming by, and thank you for anyone that's stuck around, watched the whole thing. Sorry we had some technical issues there. Had to switch a camera, but like I said, we roll with the punches. We keep going. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come to RoofCON. We'll see you there. Thank you so much. Peace out.